You gotta give me one more chance. I know the gigs will come back in. I know they'll all turn back in like right around just like the old days, and the money will come pouring in gangbusters. Ah cha cha. You gotta help me. I'm your buddy, I'm your pal. Oh my god. You spill milk on the floor, you try to lick it up to save a penny. Ah cha cha. We were all tough. We punched each other in the face. We did our laundry by punching it really hard. Scotty and Vinny and Tommy, and now kids are named Lafayette. They got these newfangled fruity names.
That's what kids these days. And no, I do the voice at disconnect.
No, I want you to do it.
No. Miss Romie, it's time for us to set sail.
Oh my gosh, already? Well, okay, Miss Blossom. Let's go.
We're gonna talk shit.
With Blossom
and Romie.
How are you? It is Pride.
Pride.
If there's ever a time to feel booked and cursed, it could be Pride.
It could be Pride. It probably is for a lot of the Queen's performers and kings who enjoy our show. I would say, yeah, I'm feeling okay. My first week of Pride, to be quite honest, was kind of a rough one. There was lots of drama and, yeah, a little bit of heartbreak, but the weather is nice.
There's only one way your Pride Month can go: up from here.
Up from here. Mm-hmm. Rushing onwards and upwards.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry to hear.
No, that's fine.
I do not wish heartbreak for my sister ever. But is that not what it means to be human, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, it could be argued, definitely, absolutely.
Before I ask you about your humanity, welcome to Talk Ship Get Hip.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to Talk Ship Get Hip, everyone.
And before we get into our intro segment on Talk Ship Get Hip of name check, I don't think we have still decided one. Maybe we decide one right now.
The, unloading of baggage.
See, we have to are we loading or unloading?
Fuck, that's what we've been talking about.
Let's do unloading, but parentheses kind of like academia dissertation vibes, like using parentheses in like a scholarly snobbish way.
Yeah, I like that. I also like deloading.
Oh,
deloading.
Yeah. We could do all kinds of disloading. Dislodging your luggage, your baggage. It's our cargo check-in.
Check-in.
The hit intro segment we do on our podcast that really is the major time where we carve out to talk about ourselves before we jump in to an episode of the hit television show The Love Boat that we excitedly review, with passion.
Maybe if this is your first time watching the show, if this is your first episode, that is what we do. That is the vague central topic theme of the show, is the hit television series The Love Boat.
Yes. So now you know. Now tell me more about being human, the woes of being human. Not just human, your artistry and energy transcends humanity. That's what I like to remind myself as well. But what other cargo do you wish to unload? And unload into a safe space
receptacle.
Yes, that isn't like a turbulent airplane or this is a cruise, really. The waters you're safe with my waters is what
Tranquil,
I'm trying to say.
Safe waters.
The safe, cool waters of Blossom. Please, if you will, if you want to.
I'll take a dip. I'm thinking like, I've had a lot of, I had a bout of food-borne illness last week. I had a bout of, a thing ending, and I had a bout of drama and, other kind of like entanglements that caused me to be like kind of frustrated with people and a lot of work. So I had a really interesting week.
It's a triple threat of sorts. Go ahead with your butt. Hopefully it's an optimistic butt.
But it's, It is still Pride, and it is quite the beginning of the month. And to be fair, I shouldn't have tried doing any of these things that I was trying to do any of these days because Co-Star warned me not to.
What did she tell you?
She told me it was going to be rough, darling. And I was like, well, I should have just not even read it. It's not like knowing helped at all. Anyway.
So what I'm hearing
She's
is
a cruel, cruel mistress sometimes, Miss Co-Star.
Miss Co-Star, Miss Life, but, you know, the signs are in front of you. The girl did it to her damn self is what I have to think.
I've had it coming.
No, you did not have foodborne illness coming your way. Let's knock this triple threat one by one. We can lightly touch on them. So foodborne illness.
I've already forgotten which one.
Me too, but I'm sorry about the foodborne illness.
Thanks.
What lessons can we impart? I mean, cruises, that can happen often on a cruise.
Oh, yeah.
I try to carry Tums around with me.
Sure.
Pepto.
I would say one lesson is if you're still sick, don't continue to work the next day like I did. What can you do?
It can be hard to rest, though. Hard to take a break.
It's really hard to rest. Yeah, rest is kind of terrifying. I've been like thinking about it, but it's also kind of scary.
Yeah. When you're passionate about your slayage, you know, it can feel like a wasted opportunity to slay.
Absolutely.
But resting is part of the slayage. Everyone out there, please rest up so you can continue serving.
And drink water.
Drink water. Okay, so number 2 of this triple threat, a thing ended, is what my sister just said. I don't...
a thing ended. I kind of, I got like, whatever. Embarrassingly, shamefully, whatever, and let go from a situation that I was in, and it's fine. It's whatever. I wouldn't want to hang out with me either.
No, that is not the lesson to be learned.
That is the lesson to be learned.
Okay, well, I do not accept that. The lesson that I learn and that I hear from that is that people that don't deserve all parts of you, all of the beauty, all of the wonder, the wit, the glamour, the fabulousness, the love that you offer.
The long stories that kind of ramble on and don't go anywhere.
Absolutely, that we all love and adore. The people that don't deserve that or that don't recognize it, they do find their way out of your life, even if it's by their choice. Doesn't mean... Okay, I got lost a little bit.
Or by there, yeah. Okay.
What I was trying to say is the right people that are meant to be in your life at that time and space will be there for you, like me, like us on this couch.
That's true. That is true.
So.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay. So number 3, that was drama. Well.
Oh yeah. I don't even.
What can we say? I mean, drama. We're drag queens. We're pop stars. I mean,
usually
you're a pop
I'm
star.
on the sidelines. You know, I don't typically get involved, but every now and again, that, you know, I just want to dive in.
But for everyone's best interest, that you don't get involved because, honey, Miss Romie will take you down, verbally, or. If she happens to have her meteor hammer with her, I'm sorry, then I know who will be still standing after that bout.
With a glare, a quip, or a traditional weapon.
I've seen you in a film disarm someone who was wielding a sword with your meteor hammer. That was epic.
That was through no tricks of editing or anything. That was just real life sparring. That was just the game of life.
Yeah. I heard like eagle noises when it happened too. It was,
you know, interesting little thing about that now that I'm given the opportunity to have like an aside. Okay. So when you hear samples, one interesting thing I learned when we did that short film with Austin, Inky Boy, the movie, which everyone should watch. It's online. It's real fun. I learned that eagle noise that they would play, the eagle sample that they would use in movies, actually is a red-tailed hawk, because so a lot of the samples that people use are from really old sample libraries. Like these birds, long dead, darling, generations, decades ago, they were gone. And they've been used in a lot of things. Our brains are actually almost like people want to use the same samples that are super ingrained in the zeitgeist and in pop culture because it triggers a memory with people and we like that familiarity. But back to the red-tailed hawk versus the falcon or eagle sample is like eagles, actually, as far as birds sounds go, as far as their calls go, sound kind of goofy to most people's ear. So the red-tailed hawk gives people that feeling of like, you know, it is a bird of liberty, freedom, whatever. It sounds more the call is much more embodied. It's much more confident. The eagle sound is kind of like brrr. Yeah. So anyway, there you go. We've been lied to all this time.
I love this. Pick this little snippet of audio history. It's amazing. And audio engineering. Leave it to my sister to teach us some sonic lessons tonight.
And the bird sounds in the movie The Birds were a synth. If you go back and watch the movie, it makes sense because all of the bird sounds sound like little like meow, meow, meow. It was just people turning knobs.
Birding around.
Just burbing around. They just be bourbon.
I love that.
Yeah.
Red tail hawk screech noise is a little harder to get out there. Eagle screech or hawk. That
Anyway.
sound effect I have heard you used in different contexts.
Yeah,
as
I
well.
usually use it to like, I don't know, give sound to like what I imagine the emotions of cats are. Like when a cat is confused, that's the sound I like go like brrr, which I think I actually stole from Celine when I lived with her, to be fair.
Shout out to our first and so far only guest on the podcast.
Thus far.
Celine Latrine. But very shortly we will be having more guests on. Thank you for unloading your cargo. Here is your tracking ID.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get this validated later. Is that how this works?
Yes.
How about you? How was your week? How was your first week of Pride Month, darling?
First week of Pride. Yeah, I think this episode is coming out like maybe mid Pride. So we're projecting into the future. I have a busy Pride month, but I'm excited for Pride is my drag anniversary month. I started drag 2 years ago to this date that we're recording. Well, a few days after. But it's a fun time. I like to use it as a benchmark to check in with myself about like my drag career and artistry and like all the fun things that have happened in the last year. But it's been a good month. I have an exciting show upcoming this month that I am for the first time like dancing on stage. Well, we have performed in group numbers before and I've been in other group numbers, but this is the first time where I'm like leading a drag performance and have enlisted the support of two other dancers. Two of our friends to name drop and maybe potential guests on the show, Kiki and E of the House of Flora, local Kiki House in Portland, Oregon, and also in Denver. They have a chapter in Denver. Shout out to the Kiki House of Flora. But I'm really excited to dance with them on stage.
It's going to be so fabulous.
Can
I'm
you
excited
imagine
to see
me
you.
dancing?
It's going to be everything.
Me moving my body?
Come on now.
Come on now. I learned a touch step. Do you know what a touch step is? I didn't know what it was, but now I know.
Okay.
It's like crossing. Really. I'll just show you off camera.
Okay.
But
You're not going to do it right now.
no, I don't
We
like
wouldn't be
doing
able
that.
to get it in the frame, probably.
Right. But that's a little bit of check-in about me. I'm having a good Pride month. A busy Pride month.
Lovely.
Can't spell Pride month without demon. That's the big one right now.
Yeah, demon or HRT.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
An HRT demon is basically
Uh-huh.
what I identify as nowadays.
Oh yeah, that's the table. That's the table at lunch that we sit at.
Who else is with us?
Oh God, there's a few HRT demons in town who would probably be sitting in with us.
Or globally. I mean...
Globally,
Yeah.
won't you sit at our global HRT demon table, darling?
Please.
It would be our honor.
Yeah. Not too much, I feel like, else to report back on in Blossom's unloading of cargo. What does your imaginary cargo look like? What shape is it? What color is it? The luggage that you're bringing on each week? Or
Definitely covered in stickers. I'm also seeing like a Kelly green, perhaps. It would be kind of in line with the aesthetic of the show.
Of today's episode, especially.
Oh yeah,
Lots of Kelly green looks on the runway today.
absolute.
That we will be clinking or sinking very soon. I love that for you. I love round luggage.
Oh yeah.
He draws the shape of a circle.
No,
in
but
there.
especially like a square with rounded corners is very of that time too. But then a straight up circular piece, that is kind of fun.
It's fabulous.
It is
I mean, I
fabulous.
guess people were traveling with their hats and their wigs.
Sure.
But there's also like the bigger round ones that I just find so satisfying. Mine would be hot pink.
Amazing.
Hmm.
I could
Just
see
like
that.
my well, that's my check-in.
I love it.
We have loaded our cargo, or unloaded, or deloaded?
Deloused.
Deloused. It's,
Oh no, wait. What was it? Deloaded.
It's
I
kind
like
of
deloaded.
It's like our D-Light tribute band.
Deloaded. Delocked.
Hmm?
Deloaded.
Mm-hmm.
Degroovy.
Cargo's checked in. Let's check into the real meat. No, but it can be vegan. Have we told the podcast that you're vegan?
I'm not vegan. I am.
Oh, she's pescatarian.
I am pescatarian.
We had a
so
lovely vegan banh mi earlier.
We did. It was really. It was really cute.
Right.
What was that place again?
Mama Doot.
Mama Do. Yeah, that was cute. I hadn't eaten there before. It was really cute.
Shout out other local, fabulous Asian-owned restaurants in our little corner of the world. But here we are. We are on Talk Ship Get Hip, reviewing episode 6
Hey.
of season 1 of The Love Boat.
The Love Boat.
As always, we have a triptych of titles here. I will read them to you as in you and the world. The 3 titles of this episode, episode 6, are Joker is Wild, First Time Out, and Take My Granddaughter, Please. Do you recall all 3? And is there one that comes to mind first, or one that we could jump into first?
Well, the Take My Granddaughter, Please has one of the really, really fabulous occult older people in Rosemary's Baby.
Yes.
And
Actress
also-
Ruth Gordon.
Yes, Ruth Gordon. How could I forget? And I don't know, she's my favorite character. So, of course, like her arc, which to be fair, Take My Granddaughter, Please, is really her arc. It's really mostly about her and her accepting that she's annoying, which is really relatable for me. And meddling. That's her, because that's her thing. She's the meddling witch grandmother.
Right.
Right.
That's her beautiful, fabulous fashions. I mean, basically, our whole fashion clink racing segment this week is about her. But it just reminded me, what if she is playing the same character as she was in Rosemary's Baby, but she has just boarded the SS Pacific Princess for a week?
Oh, yeah. She's got...
Is her granddaughter Rosemary's Baby on this cruise right now?
Whoa, all grown up?
Who is Satan? Spoiler alert! If you
Yeah.
haven't seen Rosemary's Baby, or what is Rosemary's Baby supposed to be Satan, or like the spawn of Satan?
if what's her name is Rosemary's Baby, this the reincarnation of / spawn of.
Shirley.
Then, kind of going back to the HRT demon topic, I mean, as I recall, the famous line, Rosemary's Baby, we know from the movie, was Amab was assigned male at birth because of that famous line, he has his father's eyes. So it's really possible that she is that baby. What's her name? What's her name?
I think Shirley.
Shirley.
I said Shirley earlier, but in context, it kind of sounded like I was just agreeing with you.
Oh, Shirley. Yeah. So Shirley was maybe Rosemary's Baby. And maybe that lady is there being like, oh my God, we haven't gotten another heir to this Satan dynasty.
Infernal Kingdom.
Yeah, Infernal
Mhm.
Kingdom. And we need to find a suitor to impregnate my trans reincarnation of Lucifer granddaughter.
Love.
I love it.
So clearly we had a favorite of the 3 plots, but let's read a overview plot of all 3 episodes in one, all 3 plot lines. So has-been comic Barry Keyes asks Julie, our cruise director, our fave Julie, to let him entertain on board as a way of returning a favor. Julie's father, we learn, is friends of this kind of ex-comedian, or this fated comedian. We'll get into that later. Mrs. Warner, Ruth Gordon, witch lady that we're talking about, is determined to marry off her granddaughter Shirley
On this trip.
Yeah. And we see that Shirley's love interest is Tab Hunter, who you were reminding me of. I recognized the role, but I never clock any of the guest stars. Tell us a little bit about
Tab
Tab
Hunter was a 50s and 60s heartthrob who was closeted gay, and later on in his career, he made tongue-in-cheek nods. He was in Polyester and starred opposite Divine and was the leading man in that movie, and he was that guy. He was one of those prototypical like American leading men heartthrob guys, and it was kind of fabulous to see him here. Tab Hunter, fabulous.
Yeah, and as the podcastresses that we are, always seeking and looking for the queer lens to any episode of The Love Boat, we love to see some John Waters Dreamlanders, or like icons of that pocket of cinema that we so deeply cherish, represented on this episode. And finally, college pals bet on whether Virginal Dan changes his status before the cruise ends.
Kind of a weird one.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is like part of like classic machismo, like masculine culture, or if this is just something that like was in a bunch of TV movies and perpetuated it, or if it's something that like male like mass friends actually do with each other, where they like hedge bets over their friend who can't get laid to have sex, and they're obsessed with the sex life of their one friend who hasn't had sex. Like, I've seen this before in movies, and it seems kind of odd to me. Little gay.
Yes, it could be a little fruity. It's fixating on a very intimate part of someone, and we learn that these four boys are bonded fraternally, or they're in a fraternity with each other,
right,
on a spring break of sorts, it feels like.
Yeah, and hedging actual bets. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and they're kind of they're rooting against him in some ways. They're placing bets on that he will not find love, or at least sex, on this boat. The sex boat is. They should have boarded the sex boat, not the love boat, darling.
Yeah.
But anywho, we find out that Danny, or Dan, this virgin. I don't want to contribute to the characterization.
You're
of
a
this
virgin
person.
who can't drive.
You're a virgin who can't ride this cruise. His love interest is Marcia Brady, Maureen McCormick. So that's cute to see another. We saw Father Brady earlier this season.
Yeah. Maureen McCormick had these like really fabulous old ads in the early zeros for Bloomingdale's, and
I don't know them.
Oh yeah, no, they're actually pretty whatever. And shout out to anyone who remembers deep internet legends Shaye Saint John, but she had the most disturbing live journal ever, and there was this whole series of fake letters from Maureen McCormick about how Shaye Saint John's website had subliminal messages in it that were like ruining her life. So I think about her from that, and of course from the Brady Bunch.
Have you ever shopped at a Bloomingdale's?
I believe I have. I believe I used to get I remember they had a cosmetic section. I actually went to a mall. I went to the Lloyd Center Mall yesterday because I'm obsessed with old malls and their like liminal spaces. And, I had a chance to walk around and see so many places that were just like not in use. But then there were a lot of places that looked as though they had been, inhabited by like smaller businesses, and there were actually people around. And I got a weird pretzel bite with weird cheese sauce. It was amazing. It was such a weird experience. Anyway, malls, Bloomingdale's.
You can only get weird pretzels with weird cheese sauce at a mall, or at an abandoned mall.
There's a lot of food places that specifically cornered mall food courts as their like demographic and their operation. Like what's going to happen to Baja Fresh or Hot Dog on a Stick or Sally's Mrs. Fields cookies or Sally Fields' cookies. Sally Fields' cookies.
Honey, come get those cookies.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. That was from Marcia Brady. Is that how we got there?
Yeah, Marcia Brady. Yeah,
Okay.
because Shaye Saint John would post all of her like Bloomingdale's ads and be
I see.
Marcia wrote me this.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure a sector of your fans that watch our podcast will understand that. I did not, but I am curious. And as always, I learned something new from our episode, or from our time. I can go do some further research.
Shaye Saint John is a treasure of media, darling.
Okay. I'll go.
A legend, God rest their soul, and Tab Hunters.
Tavern, yes. Well, let's see. Should we we talk a little bit about some of the main highlights before we maybe do a deeper dive into some main main points of the plot.
Yeah, pots and points.
Pots are on point.
Pans and points.
Hands pointing at each other. Or actually, we can just take a break now. Let's just take a break now before we jump
We
into-
love breaks.
Yeah. See you soon. And we're back.
We are. Welcome back.
Blossom screwed her head back on a little bit more. I use that metaphor a lot. I don't know if that's a metaphor other people use, or if I've just started saying that. I've been saying that a lot, though. I'm like, oh, let me get back to you after I screw my head back on a little bit.
No, because that goes with that old, like, my head would fall off if it wasn't screwed on there. I'm always losing everything.
Do people say that?
Yeah, it was an old adage.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just my vintage soul coming through.
I love it.
I thought you were going to make a reference to that one story about the girl whose head is held on by the scarf.
The green ribbon.
The green ribbon. I was going to say a red scarf. That's quite the opposite of a green ribbon.
Well, red
Christmas.
scarf, green ribbon, Christmas, Flag Day, whatever. I mean, the busy world of Richard Scarry was full of stories like that. That wasn't Richard Scarry. That was from In a Dark, Dark Room, which was an Alvin Schwartz retelling a folklore compilation, a la Scary Stories
I see.
to tell in the Dirk. Yeah.
Well, we're back.
Yay.
Let's talk about some of the high points of this plot. I mean, we're sharing some of our high points because, simultaneously both for those that are watching along with us, or, maybe it's a little teaser of some points to be excited about when you watch this episode eventually or rewatch this episode. Or maybe you're never going to watch The Love Boat, but you will, or you are interested in us watching it and
You're
hearing
watching
us.
it through our eyes and our mouths and your ears.
Eyes without a face.
Without a mouth.
Without a mouth. So, high points of this plot.
Yes.
Let's see. Well, it's always fun to see a starlet, a comedian, an entertainer that has kind of outlived their moment, or is kind of living in this afterglow moment.
Outliving your moment. That's
Is
like,
that a phrase?
I don't know.
Is that called death?
I was gonna say fell off, but outlived your moment. That's rough.
Well,
I like it.
He's
I like
an
it.
ex-comedian.
You either die in your moment or you live long enough to outlive your moment. Is that the takeaway here? Is that that's the implicit statement of however, sure, he's outlived his moment and he's certainly outused all of his jokes.
Yeah, so we're talking about a certain Mr. Barry, Julie's father's old friend, who we keep hearing allusion to him Julie's father owing him a favor, or there's this,
Helped him get his start in show business.
or gave him some other kind of favor. I don't really know, but
Make you a star.
sure, it's show business. But
He's representing the era when men just let their eyebrows grow. And whatever
Yes.
happened.
yes,
Yeah.
it's bushy.
It's
up there.
it's crazy. It's wild.
I was driving around today on my way to pick up you, and on community radio, DJ, don't remember their name, but the DJ ended their set with a song from an album called Squirrel Jazz, and those eyebrows were giving squirrel jazz. to me.
Squirrel jazz, eyebrows.
Bushy-tailed, like a squirrel, like a jazzy squirrel. But Mr. Barry, he was on the Ed Sullivan Show. We hear, so that's some fun painting. We have like vintage TV fit into retro TV, and us receiving both of these references in 2023.
Yeah.
So layers on layers.
Layers on layers. Yeah. Old jokes from a time that's super old, in an environment that's antiquated, and him talking about how people today just don't understand his humor, don't have the work ethic that he has, and show business ain't what it used to be. It's
Right.
he's from the Suspiria era. It's
Right.
amazing.
I think. What does this mean? This is one of our emergent themes and analyses over our queer watching and viewing and reading of the Love Boat is that lots of Suspiria elements, lots of magic and witchness.
Yeah,
that
there's a lot of witchcraft and occult going on. There's a lot of witchy outfits. I think also maybe that was just how people, of a certain vintage maybe dressed back then, because
Right.
I don't know, a lot of things just seem witchier before they became like costumes that were always assigned to witchy characters and things. Wearing a big crazy pendant with like a long gown that's kind of in this like, I don't know, like a winter palette color that's like, I don't know, micro suede or shiny felt or something. Like these things maybe didn't used to read as witchy. Maybe that was like a springtime look
But to
at
us,
some
it's
point.
magic.
But to us, we're like, oh yeah, she's giving Mother Witch, Mater Suspiriorum.
Right.
The Three Mothers concept was actually more written by Daria Nicolodi, Dario Argento's ex-wife. She came up with the whole concept of the Three Mothers, and everyone thinks that he did because he's a man. But I mean, he did direct the movies and stuff, but a lot of them it was all adapted from her short story and her general concepts. Anyway.
Who was responsible for the bisexual lighting in Argento's films?
Definitely him.
Okay.
Yeah. That's his look.
Good
That
for
was his
him.
aesthetic, early vapor boy, e-boy aesthetic.
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of how I modeled the lighting in my apartment now. I mean, mine's more like orange and purples, but
Yeah, yours is like warm ambers. It goes with your like orange color elemental theme. But
well,
yeah.
I guess it's kind of the colors of the lesbian flag. So maybe instead of bisexual lighting, my apartment is lesbian lighting.
I love it.
Wink, wink. So Mr. Barry's story, yeah, he is coming onto the cruise, but he has the worst, quote unquote, worst, the most modest room, the most modest accommodations.
Yeah, they said cheapest.
Uh-huh.
Julie said cheapest.
Yeah, well, she was sad to see.
She was sad to see him in such a state.
And he's kind of
On a luxury cruise in the cheapest cabin.
Right.
The way the mighty have fallen. He was on the Ed Sullivan Show with props at one point, and now,
Right. And so his story, he's kind of just longing for one more shot at entertainment and getting a few chuckle, hee ha ha hordles out of people. And so he kind of pleads Julie, our cruise director, to get a spot on stage, and as the cruise director, she has that power to kind of shape the agenda for the night, for the day.
but rather than...
She's worried.
Yeah.
You go.
She's worried. And this is the interesting thing to me is he can clearly see that she's concerned. She's trying to be nice. Maybe he can't see and he's just not, not astute to that. But instead of like asking for a gig or begging or doing anything and just being like, you gotta give me one more chance. I know the gigs will come back in. I know they'll all turn back in like right around just like the old days, and the money will come pouring in gangbusters. Ah, cha cha. Like you gotta help me. I'm your buddy. I'm your pal. But like he doesn't do that. He fakes a heart attack.
Yeah, he fakes chest pain.
He fakes chest pain when she starts to tell him that he can't perform the show. He's like, oh my god.
Okay.
You don't like this voice?
No, I'm obsessed.
Oh, okay.
I'm tempted to ask you to do the podcast now in this voice, but yeah, but he gets his spot and he kind of slays. We were not gagging. We were not laughing at any joke. He tries to make some really resonant jokes that we hear nowadays about people being like, kids these days, and now I do the voice that disconnected.
No, I want you to do it.
No, I actively can't. He makes a joke about like kids these days and their newfound genders. What's up with that? Except his is like names.
Yeah.
So
It's about the kids having fruity names these days. Well, he finally gets his gig that Julie, arranged out of sympathy and a bit of manipulation. And at first he's doing all of his old material like, oh, you spill milk on the floor, you try to lick it up to save a penny, cha-cha, or something weird like that. And people are like creeped out. One lady starts crying. People are throwing up. And then he's like, yeah, I give up fucking show business. Staying on the mic, of course. And he like pulls up a stool. Pulling up a stool and getting to the mic is like the comedian way of saying that like you don't care. You're just going to tell it like it is. You're going to be really real. You're going to really show your humanity. You're maybe totally drunk. And he's like, he starts going on like, the kids these days, sure, the generations have changed. We were all tough. We punched each other in the face. We did our laundry by punching it really hard. And like, and everyone, our names were all like Scotty and Vinny and Tommy, and now kids are named Lafayette. They got these newfangled fruity names, and everyone's like, oh my God. They're like crying, laughing, and then they're throwing up from laughter, and he's killing it. And Julie walks back in after taking a break outside and having a talk with Gopher about how badly the show is going, and she comes back, and I knew they were going to do the trope where he's like slaying the audience upon return into the room, and of course he is, and he's doing this kind of weird, kind of homophobic generation slamming thing, because he's telling it like it is, and people are loving it, and he's cha-chaing again, just like a comedy star should.
Yeah, and good for him. I mean, we were not laughing at the jokes, but the passengers of the SS Pacific Princess certainly were, and we love that for him to get. See, I was wrong. He did not outlive his moment. He
lived to cha-cha another day.
That's
Cha-cha.
what. Yes, Shantae, you cha-cha stay.
Yeah.
To cha-cha slay another week.
Yeah.
And slay Mr. Barry did. Good for him. Speaking of slaying, Mrs. Gordon, or Ruth Gordon, who is playing Shirley's grandmother, she is on this cruise, and she slayed us with her looks every time, but also her, I don't know, did you like her character?
Well, her character seemed very one goal focused, which was to find a man of suitable income for Shirley. Mm-hmm. And she wanted to, and Shirley was interested in Tab Hunter's character, who is a school teacher, and she didn't approve of that, so she's trying to set her up with Doc instead, and Doc feels bad for Shirley, so he does this weird act where he pretends to be like drunk and tries groping what's the grandmother's name? Ruth's character.
We call her Mrs. Warner.
Mrs. Warner tries groping Mrs. Warner, and she's like, well, you should never associate with this terrible man. And then later they fess up immediately and say, no, this was all an act, because she's really absolutely in love with Tab Hunter's character, and we had to confess to you that we just put this on, and you're really pushy and annoying. And she's like, oh, well, maybe I am pushy and annoying. And she's like, you are, but you're also a fantastic grandmother. She's like, which is, it's cute. It's cute. I mean, learning that you're annoying and coming to terms with that, like I said, is a relatable lesson for me.
Sure. I'm not endorsing any attempt that you attempt to name yourself annoying. No, I can't endorse that. My sister is not annoying.
Meddling. I like meddling.
Sure, that's fun. That gives you like flair.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a fun storyline. Tab Hunter is lovely at straight acting. He's very good at it. I guess
that's what he did.
Having to do that as a living, you get pretty good at it, but not commending it, but just giving him his flowers. Or
it was the way it had to be.
Right.
He was given a role, and he did a great job. He was lovely, and probably a total class act, at least from everything I've heard, which to be fair isn't much, but still.
Sure.
Somewhat surmised from a John Waters documentary I vaguely remember, but still, probably a cool person.
Yeah. And so this third plot, before we maybe jump into reviewing some looks and some fashions, the college boys, do we have much to say about this? I mean...
They all blurred except for our central one for me.
Yeah, Danny. He's just under a lot of pressure. He's 19 and a half years old. He reminds his fellow fraternity members. And is coming onto this cruise to lose parts of himself and to gain other parts of yourself.
To be free, one must give up a little part of themselves.
Right.
Their finger.
Sure. Well,
that's what losing your virginity is. You've heard it here first.
You give your finger to someone else sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It was fun to see Marsha Brady. She was beautiful. And
she's fabulous.
Her character was very meek, very endearing, very innocent.
I loved her hair.
Her hair is fabulous.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have much to say about that plot line. I mean, lesson learned there, don't pressure your friends to have sex.
No, and I mean, like, I guess it's like maybe that's that was the socially acceptable version in those kinds of social circles, in masculine friend groups, of wanting to see your friend be happy.
Right.
I guess wanting to see them have success and a conquest.
Yeah. Support your friends to have sex if they want to.
Yeah, absolutely, and you should. But
Hold space for your friends to
don't
entertain.
Yeah, don't call them names if they're not sexually active, and don't hedge bets upon their sexual activity unless that's something y'all are doing together.
And we're not telling our listeners, not my listeners of Talk Ship Get Hip. I know my listeners and viewers are not.
We know you're not doing that, but you know, there's a lesson to be gleaned from this either way for whether or not that applies to anyone.
Yeah.
It's irrelevant.
Well,
Lessons are fun.
What else might remind us and conjure up some other moments of the plot is reviewing some fashions.
Yay.
It could conjure up some other lingering, elements of this story that we want to share with folks. But it is time for one of our favorite segments. I mean, again, we only introduced one other one up top of this, but it's called Sink or Clink.
Sink or Clink, everyone's favorite segment where
Tell
we
me
review.
Yes, tell me.
This is the segment of the show for those of you who haven't seen before or heard before, where we review some of our favorite and least favorite, some of the looks that we found most noteworthy from the show. We get to talk about clothes.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
We know a thing or two about fashion. So up first, we have Mrs. Warner and her granddaughter Shirley making their entrance. What do we think here? I mean, quite fabulous, really.
Like I said, that pendant, I'm really into the pendant, the witchiness of it all as we were going on earlier. You know that it opens up, you know that there's a locket and it's filled with herbs and spices and part of a finger.
Yeah.
From when she lost her virginity.
Yes.
Right.
Because you have to keep it with you.
And she carries it around, yeah, for power.
Yeah, I mean, great. We get introduced very clearly from her first look about her kind of standard silhouette that she likes. We see a lot of head wraps for Mrs. Warner.
Her hair is always tied in a low chignon, and it's always with a head wrap band, and it's always in conjunction with the rest of her outfit. I was gagged. Yeah. She had different ones for every look.
And we'll get into them. But this first one, it's a clink for Mrs. Warner.
Of course.
Yeah.
We stan.
Okay, we have Danny here. Danny and Mrs. Marsha Brady,
Maureen McCormick.
What's her name on this? Barbara. Her name is
Barbara. Barbara, please.
From Marsha to Barbara. The Maureen McCormick story.
Yes.
Yeah, this is
McBarbara.
I was kind of really struck by. I love a bikini bottom and like a cute short sleeve crop top. It seems kind of like overdressed on top and underdressed on the bottom, but like on a cruise it works and it looks quite chic actually.
It was pretty cool. I felt as though this could have been worn higher waisted, and I felt as though the cut was maybe a bit baggy on her. So I actually didn't love this one as much, to be totally honest. Love her, but I just would have liked to see, if you're going to do like a Donald Duck thing, the bottom should be like cooler, maybe. Not a statement necessarily, but at least like cut super well.
I usually hear people call that Winnie the Poohing about.
Oh yeah, Donald Ducking, Winnie the Poohing.
Squidwarding, I guess.
Squidwarding, when you wear a t-shirt with no pants.
Right.
Yeah.
Very sexy. Okay, so I feel like you're sinking.
I think I'm sinking.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, for Shaye Saint John.
And what about Danny boy?
He's really cute, but I'm not necessarily sure I love this either. Green seems to be his elemental color. That's kind of cool.
I'm clinking Mrs. Barbara.
Nice.
Miss Barbara.
Miss Barbara.
Barbara, please.
Barbara, please.
Okay, you're sinking her.
She's in a bad mood today. She's sinking everybody.
Fabulous. We have Danny again. But really, we were more struck by this little aerobics moment with Miss Kelly Green two-piece.
Oh my gosh, so good. I would really love to wear this exact outfit. I love the cut of the top. I love how it goes around the neck, but it's also a tube top. And I like the short a lot. It's very fun.
It's like it's our weekly terry cloth feature. We do have to have a terry cloth
every time, every episode.
Of course, it's fabulous. But yeah, super great. I'm definitely clinking. Miss Unnamed Kelly Green Two-Piece. Kelly Green Two-Piece. bring it to
Kelly
the
Green
stage.
two-piece. Miss Kelly Green two-piece was everything.
Yeah, for me, Clink.
A memorable look. Clink, absolutely.
Okay, we're kind of. I'm not really interested in Danny's. We'll just.
It's a cute pale blue tracksuit. It's
Sure.
whatever.
It's neither for me. Sink or Clink. Okay, and kind of a combined feature here. We had Tab Hunter's entrance. You know, we love a poolside entrance.
A
as
poolside
happens.
entrance, yeah. His entrance scene is, I think he's like swims out of the water and he's like soaking wet, and he's like, "Hello, I'm a wet man," and she's like, "Oh, hi!" And it plays the music that signals that like attraction happened.
A wet man from her past.
A wet man from her past. Oh yes, she knows him.
They had not seen each other in 5 years.
Right.
And I'm not quite sure where they had saw each other 5 years ago, but it was a 5 years amount of time to be married and divorced.
Yes.
And so she was very elated to know that. She let out an O that you can only let out once you hear that someone you once loved is divorced.
Yeah.
She went,
Oh. No, she went, "Arr!" a la Dale,
uh-huh.
making reference to past episodes.
Yes. Okay, we have 3 looks here. So what do you think, Shirley?
Okay. I like it. I like a Valentine's palette, like pink and red. It's fun. I liked it more when she took off this overtop thing and threw it over her shoulder. It was fun. It was cute.
It was cute. We have Mrs. Warner serving in yet another fabulous necklace and head wrap, chic, Rosemary's Baby, Suspiria moment.
Yes, and she always had the same makeup look, which was kind of like a smoky blue atop and like an orangey red lip. It was kind of fabulous.
A little
Classic.
clown-like.
Yeah, a little crazy, but pretty sick.
And Tab Hunter in this yellow bathing suit. I think I'm clinking all, except I don't really like Tab Hunter's his swim trunks. I think a Speedo.
They could have had a stronger intro for such an iconic character. They knew that the audience would be gagged when they showed him. They actually did this trick with the editing for both, for Maureen McCormick's character too, where they turn around and go, "Oh, hi," and you know the audience is gagged that it's them because they're such a recognizable face.
Right, that's fun. I hope when I'm a guest star on a show once, that's how my entrance happens.
Yes.
That's me.
It's fucking Blossom.
Yeah, I will clink
God.
all except Tab. Although I do clink you in general.
Yes, we clink him in general. I'll go ahead and agree with you. We could have had more with his intro look. He could have had a cool robe or something even, and
A robe.
walked up, Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of robe, we have Danny in his kind of loungy robe. Matching, honey, the robe matches the bed sheets, as they say.
Yes.
Different kinds of matching, but loved this. What did you think of this green?
I absolutely loved it. It was a standout for me. I would love to find, this is another one of those, just like, Miss Kelly Green two pieces look. I would love to find this green robe and just have it. It's so great. It's very warm and soft and luxe looking.
There's no
Sick.
other word you can use except moss.
Moss. It is
Which,
true moss.
If any kind of garment makes me think of moss, then I'm gonna adore it.
Yes.
So, clink to this moss robe, darling.
We clink it.
Okay. I think this is another case. Maybe we should not call this segment Sink or Clink anymore.
We're just clinking Miss Warner. It's called Clinking Miss Warner.
Clinking witchy fashions. I mean, come on now. What is this? This is giving almost like Pierrot, like some kind of... I think she reminds me of a clown a lot in her outfits, which I like a lot.
But like the kind of, but like a Serge Lutens kind of clown in like those old like ads where there's sort of
I don't know what that means, but that sounded very fancy.
Designer had a lot of really clown-like images with the models, with the way that they would be styled in their makeup for their ads, especially like in the 80s. And it's just giving maybe a little bit of that, almost a little bit of Zelda Rubinstein in Teen Witch when she goes to the prom and wears this kind of flappery outfit. Kind of sick. I don't know. It's really flowy. It's pale. It all is super matchy as usual. I don't know if it's a generational thing or if it's a thing that people are supposed to do to show that they're like that woman of a certain vintage, to have that almost like that matchiness down, like the handbag, the accessories, for it to all be so color coordinated with your outfit. I always thought was a serve. I mean, we hate colonization in this house, but I always thought it was the coolest thing about the queen that she always had monochromatic outfits.
Oh, yeah. We can take parts of that. And who knows where she learned that? Maybe she learned that from our
From which
cultures.
school? Yeah.
Oh, from which school? Yeah, I mean, come on now. It's a clink. I think we have a few more looks from Mrs. Warner, but she just was...
She is the
It's
star,
great.
darling. It was
Yeah.
her episode.
Every episode we do have a fashion queen, and Mrs. Warner is her today. I mean, yeah, this is a little ensemble. We get to maybe again rate a few looks here of kind of this trio, but I mean, it was great. It's kind of a little hard to see, but it's like this very soft pastel heart textile 70s silk vibe shirt and the matching pink bubblegum pants with a pink bubblegum headband.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
The cut of it's all perfect too. I really live.
On the other hand, I might sync Tab Hunter again. It's sometimes people on the Love Boat love to go safari to me.
Yeah. Yeah, and it also gets a little weird too when they're supposed to be wearing things that were like souvenirs on their stops. And you're like,
Is that your culture?
what is this?
I'm going to sync Tab Hunter again, but I will clink Mrs. Warner.
I'll agree with you.
Okay. She doesn't have any energy to disagree with me. Well, this look, I mean, there's only really one thing to identify.
Oh, darling.
I mean,
It was talk about just a vehicle for one thing.
I will sync the outfit though. I do not like, we talked about this in previous episodes. I don't like light pants with dark coat, but something else in those pants were the bulge.
Otherwise, how would the vehicle have their, yeah.
Right. But I do love Miss Miss Barbara's outfit in this ensemble. This was or in this setting. It was I think it was pants. I think it was like a flowy top and some kind of maybe flowy overskirt, but it was like this nice brown color, which I love browns. I love browns in fashion.
Oh, yeah,
Hues of
absolutely.
browns, tans.
Love earth tones.
So for me, I'm clinking Miss Barbara. And I guess clinking whatever's in Danny's.
I liked this. This was her like dinner look, which we only got to see really one for her. And, you know, it was fun. A little, almost a little dowdy with the cut of it, really, but very glamour.
Yeah. Finally, our last look here, we have to shout out one more time to Mrs. Warner.
Yes.
And kind of everyone here. Everyone for me here in this finale of sorts was turning it.
Oh, yeah.
Pink, come on now. But we have the case here of maybe she's wearing her souvenir hat. But
Yeah, I did take issue with it was like a Red Hat Society sombrero. So like the Red Hat Society would do these things sometimes where they would like stick a bunch of like souvenirs, like sand from a Grecian beach or something like that, in a little like meth bag and like stick it to their red hat. And so they could have like little, you know, little souvenirs. And that's kind of what this is giving a little bit.
those little
I
old
know-
ladies in the Red Hat Society?
Yeah. I used to
Oh.
go to like, you know, I would go to thrifting places like, you know, whatever was around, or Goodwill or something. And I would find those hats that, you know, that once the ladies had passed, their families were just like, pfft, Grecian sand hat going out the window. And then I would find it and, you know, pull up quick to retrieve it, because that Grecian sand Red Hat Society hat had a story, and I wore it to school in junior high, and I was insane.
And maybe had drugs in it.
No one suspects
No
the
one
red
had a
hat.
clue. Well, that was Sink or Clink, and a little bonus story for us and for you all.
As if there isn't always a digressive bonus story.
Right. Well, I love them. That was the episode. That was a fun episode.
It was a fun episode. It was really cool to see a lot of very iconic people in this one. And, you know, the old comic having their last hurrah or career reignition, really, because he was getting offers for jobs afterward. You know, I love that
Inspiring.
story. Getting your ah-cha-cha back.
title of episode.
I love it. There we are.
Well, thank you for viewing. Thank you for watching. Tune
you.
in next week for another steaming, piping hot episode of Talk Ship, because global warming and
Yes.
rising sea temperatures.
Yes.
Of Talk Ship Get Hip.
If you're watching home on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. If you are just listening, we love interaction. Interaction keeps us alive. Interaction is the fuel. The bodies of the passengers who didn't know what they signed up for being thrown into the furnace to keep the Pacific Princess going. So throw your body into the fire for us. Thank you.
See you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Talk Ship Get Hip. You can find us online, and don't hesitate to reach out with any nautical inquiries. Catch you next week. Bye.